Hi everyone, this is Eva, and I'm back with a unique video here. This is a hashtag VR to Jeff over at Tattooed Spirit, and he's done a really interesting thing on his channel recently. He introduced a bunch of us to something called the Georgia Guidestones, and I'm sure some of you have heard of that too. I had never heard of them. I guess there's some standing stones that have been in Georgia, the USA, since about, well, I won't say too much because maybe it's best if you don't know too much. But I did a spread as Jeff invited us all to do, and I'm talking kind of quietly because I'm up at night with the rest of my household sleeping. As is often the case, I have to do these things when the day finally winds down. Anyway, I'll get right into it. I did a spread with I decided to do a spread where there was a central focus. So, like, what is the heart of the issue? And my question was really just to ask for insight into the Georgia Guidestones as someone who doesn't know anything. So, I asked my guides to show me kind of the heart of the matter, the element of the topic that's in shadow, what is something about its past, and I got 3 cards for that. I didn't go looking for any number of cards, I just broke the deck for each position, and if it broke twice I took 2 cards, if it broke once I took 1, if it broke 3 times I took 3, and so on. This up here is sort of the divine perspective on the issue. What does the higher realms think of it all? And then this is something to do with the future of the topic. And because I didn't know anything about these stones, I was just really going off of whatever spirit would bring up, and I thought it was really interesting. Of course, at the start here, we got 2 major arcana, and we got a card in the deck that shows standing stones. And this is the World card. The deck here is the Primordial Tarot. I'm still getting used to this deck. It's very unusual, so gave me an opportunity to use it because it just deals with sort of the deeper, less trivial matters, I guess I would say. The second card to come up in the center was the Devil or Demon card, as it's called in this deck. And I thought there was a really interesting write-up about that card, which I'll try to insert. The guidebook talks about how the demon is really a part of us that we imprisoned, and while locked away, it became frightened or angry. When something is scared or mad, it can be dangerous. And then only when we are completely whole can we be completely free. So at the heart of the matter, we have those 2 major arcana. In the shadow position, we got the 14th card of the suit of blood, which relates loosely to the suit of swords. And the 14th card is called the Man of Blood. And it's basically about the aggressive warrior who, who has lost all control, as the guidebook says. He's no longer ruled by logic, he's completely ruled by his passion and bloodlust, and he's very, very dangerous. The book says he moves through the world arrogantly, raging loudly, threateningly, thinking he has the right to whatever he wants. And so I thought that was a really interesting card to come up in shadow. Yeah, so after I saw Jeff's video, I did take a peek on Google at the Georgia Guidestones just to sort of see the basics, and I didn't read anything in too much depth, but this reading is making me curious, like what they're about. And yeah, I'm going to jump up here to the divine section because it's in like direct contrast to what's down here. I thought that was super interesting. We have the 14th card of the suit of nature, and the suit of nature, it's almost like, I don't know if I'd say it's the opposite, but this man here is looking out for his fellow man and for what is best for everyone. It says in the book, from a place of serene calmness, this paternal figure observes us with awareness and concern. He is strong and confident, but has the empathy to see when others are in need. He doesn't judge or think less of others who may not have his strength or abilities. Instead, he wonders how he can help. His keen intellect and experience allow him to see situations clearly, to assess what might be wrong, and to determine effective ways to help. This is a wonderful quality because sometimes those in distress are not able to see those things for themselves. His very presence is reassuring, and the help he offers can make all the difference. So yeah, almost like this man has no concern for others and ruins the world around him through his raging and his fighting. And this man looks out for others, seeks to keep things moving smoothly and, keep the world in harmony. So we'll go to the past here. We have 2 cards of blood with a card of nature in between. I see the past card as maybe pertaining to what drove the person or people behind these stones to make the stones, or what were the energies behind, setting those up. What birthed them into being? What was the feeling behind the creation of them? I mean, I don't know, but I could see some of these ideas perhaps being part of it. We have the 9 of blood, the 4 of nature, which loosely could translate to the wands in this deck, but you really can't make a close connection just like that. Didn't sound like the King of Wands very much. This deck kind of has its own system. And then the 7 of blood. And because this deck does have its own system, I'm reading these out loud for all of us, basically. So it's a chance to get to know how this deck works a bit. So the 9 of blood says, there are many phases to bringing a new life into the world. Conception, pregnancy, labor, birth. All have their challenges and their joys. This is the actual moment of birth, following the struggle and blood of labor, and contains perhaps the deepest pain of all. In that moment, birth and death can feel like very close kin. As the baby emerges, the mother loses a connection that has been part of her in a very integral way for 9 months. So it is a death of sorts. Now she has a new life to care for, to form a new connection to. Death always brings an ending, but also brings beginnings. Life and death are a continuum. The 4 of nature is known as the bones of nature. It says, life is good for this man, walking through his world. He is enjoying the glories of nature and the benefits of his tribe's culture. Wearing symbols, feeling healthy and strong, he is on top of the world. In the middle of his walk, he finds an animal skull among the bushes. The loss of any life is sad, but death is part of life. Without it, the cycle would be broken. The skull reminds him that reality isn't all blossoms and berries, contentment and community. Their losses make them who they are as much as anything they achieve or create. It also reminds him that under all the skin, muscle, fur, and feathers, there are the bones, the structure that shapes life. This is true of the physical world and of the spirit world. This says here the divinatory meaning. It says reality, the good and the bad, remembering what is essential and what endures. Let's move on here to the 7 now of blood. The 7 cards are known as eras, so this is era of blood. Here we have a warlike Neanderthal man, the ancestor of the modern human warrior. He was driven by instinct and survival, and not troubled with abstract notions such as whether or not someone agreed with their philosophy or religion. Warriors can honor this ancestor and hope to inherit his skills and knowledge. However, those qualities have to be blended into the developing community, which brings with it complications, such as learning to settle disagreements without bloodshed. It is important to remember where we came from, how those impulses help survival, and to tap into that energy when necessary. It is also important to remember that what worked in the past may not always be appropriate for the present. Divinatory meaning is past practices, using what works, adapting skills to match the situation. And finally, We'll move over here into the future position, something to do with our future. This is, as you see, the only yellow card that came up. And yellow is the suit of jewels. And this is the three of jewels. It relates loosely to pentacles in the tarot. And you also see that we are missing a suit. There's no representative for the blue suit, which is the suit of souls in this deck, which relates to the suit of cups. So let me read this final card here. We have the three of jewels. The threes are known as the mask card of the suit. So this is the mask of jewels. A craftsman shows a mask which he has made. Abundant production. Masks are sacred objects, bridges between the spirit world and the physical world. Making them requires skill and understanding, as well as a reverent spirit. The craftsman works with more than just materials and symbols. He pours intention and meaning into his work, knowing that he is making a portal for the shaman to reach the gods and to heal this world. This craftsman has done very well and knows it, holding his most recent mask with pride. He's made so many to get this good, and now he can make many more, each one better than the last. I really liked the focus on how we can change how we work in this world by pouring our intention into it and seeing our work as a part of the bigger world, the bigger system, and more of a divine act, keeping in mind the lives to come. And I don't know what these stones have really were about. I got the impression that maybe they were some person's desire to tell the world how best to live, so that we don't maybe I think I've read something where it had something to do with maybe a post-Cold War world, or someone who lived during the Cold War. Yeah, because they were erected around that time. So I think the person who had this as their brainchild wanted to maybe leave instructions for us so that we don't ever have another world war or nuclear war, perhaps. And if that's the case, then I think this reading reflects that. We have, the world, keeping the world in one piece and respecting not just the countries of the world, but the planet itself. And then this idea of the devil, how we are so faulty. We make so many mistakes. We harm the planet. We harm each other. We harm our countries. So that's sort of at the center energy. And then these rival leaders, basically, the man who looks out for others versus the man who doesn't. It's really at the heart of it too. How we get to a rotten place is that too much of this is happening and not enough of this is happening. These cards all just sort of tell me where the intent was of the maker, potentially. Maybe they had this experience where they felt like they saw a lot to do with life and death, and they wanted to capture the importance of respecting the lessons of life and death and helping people avoid unnecessary death. And then this final card, although it may seem small in energy compared to like a major arcana, we all have to work together, which is a big part of the Three of Pentacles in any tarot deck, just about. And even though this is not the same as a regular pentacle suit, it does speak to that idea of having more of a divine attitude towards our work. And just like the shaman incorporates ideas of, the planet and the ancestors in how they relate to the divine, if we cared more about not only our ancestors but our descendants, and if we had more of a divine perspective on our world, then we would reflect that in the way we work and the way we produce things, right? So maybe that's what some of us would come away with from the standing stones. Just a thought. So now that I've done this spread, I'm going to have to do some investigation into these stones. And I'm not sure if I'll post this before I do that investigation or, or I'll follow up here in this video. I'm not sure yet. So that's that, and I thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested. Let me know also if you've done a follow-up to Jeff's hashtag. Thanks again, Jeff, for this great idea. Really loved it. Bye-bye.